Hey, I'm Sam Humphrey. I'm currently based in LA. I am an actor. You may recognize me from the musical feature The Greatest Showman as Tom Thumb. I have been an actor for full-time for 5 years now.
P.T. Barnum, at your service. I'm putting together a show, and I need a star.
I had a very difficult childhood and upbringing, I suppose. And not in the fact that, I didn't have a loving family and all that. It was more the fact that, for those that may know my story, is I have a rare condition called acrodyplasia, which basically comes with a whole host of medical issues or challenges, as you want to say. So that makes me short, that makes me have, facial deformities. It impacts my IQ and how my development and all that. So that was first kind of diagnosed when I was 3 years old. And so growing up, doctors had told me that they weren't quite sure, based on my condition that I had, they weren't sure the expectation of my life. So they were like, he could make it to 18 and, that might be it. Thank God, and I am a Christian, so thank God I am 26 and still breathing. But yeah, so it came with a lot of challenges in high school. These are kind of, I guess, maybe normal things that an average teenager thinks about, having a relationship, family, having kids and all that kind of normalcy stuff. And that was the same stuff going on in my head as well. I want to be, your everyday normal teenager. Unfortunately, I just wasn't. Due to my condition, that had very delayed development. So I didn't start developing really until I was about 18. Which, unfortunately is a little bit weird for, someone to want to be in a relationship with who's not developed yet, or, whatever. And then I'm also 4'2". So at that time, it's a little bit weird. The fact of being told, oh, I'm currently in high school. I'm 14, 15, 16, and I've been told by my doctors at a very young age, I'm probably not going to live past 18. So knowing that I maybe have 3 or 4 years left, it's kind of oh, well, I'll never grow up. I'll never have a family. So yeah, it gets me a little bit emotional, but yeah. I can't do that. I can't necessarily do the same things that everyone else can do. And these are the small things. For example, getting a cup down from the cupboard takes me 5 minutes, whereas it takes someone else 30 seconds. Yeah, it makes you different. But then, obviously, that was then. Today, I don't really care. That's the small stuff. I had also attempted suicide I'd say a few times, several times. So that was, I guess, obviously not the healthy way to try and deal with what was going on in my head. And so that's why I always say, no matter what, to everyone, please don't do what I did. I tried to battle it on my own. Please tell your family, your friends, teachers, brothers, sisters, whoever you trust, whoever's closest to you, tell them, let them in. I try to have gratitude in my own life, where I'm well, I'm alive, I'm breathing, I have a roof over my head, I'm still able to work. It's about having gratitude, which is what helps me to continue to move forward every day. When I was 8 years old, I saw Hugh Jackman on the big screen for the first time. He was playing Wolverine, as any little kid or any 8-year-old boy wants to pretend to be Wolverine, running around in his lounge room with fake claws on. That's what I did. I made fake claws out of cardboard and rubber band them to my fingers, and I'm just running around pretending to stab and all this stuff. Something made me look into it more. I was oh, I want to be like this character, or how do I be like this character? Then looking into it more, it was, just a character. It was an actor, Hugh Jackman. And that kind of grew my passion into, more and more stuff. Fortunately, my parents were very supportive, as were my whole family, considering the alternative that I wanted to do at the time, which was join the army. So they were not entirely thrilled about that. So they definitely pushed me towards acting. I kind of saw acting as a way to overcome something huge. Like, I guess to say that if I didn't feel like enough, which as a kid I didn't, if I could crack what everyone says is like one of the most impossible things to do in the world, like to crack Hollywood, from where I came from, is like, it's not done. I sort of did acting in like all my studies, like in high school. I did drama, and then a family friend of mine, she worked for a non-profit company, and they made this documentary sort of about following people with disabilities that are pursuing their dreams. And for the documentary, they got me a dummy audition for Neighbours. But as it turns out, I stunned them with my audition, and it was a dummy audition. So they actually created a role on Neighbours for me, which was cool, really cool. Then I got onto Neighbours, and I did about 1 or 2 episodes, and then out of the blue, I get an email from an agent, which I had, to be completely honest, all but forgotten about. I signed up for them about 2 years prior. I get an email from them saying, you have an audition for The Greatest Showman. So I saw the email and I was like, this says a massive feature film, 20th Century Fox. I'm like, this is a mistake. No. So I'm literally, and I'm not even kidding, this is something I've said a million times, my finger was on the delete button. I was like, this is probably spam or dummy. I'm going to delete it. And then I'm like, but what if? What is the possibility that it's real? So I'm like, okay, I email back, and then my agent sends me an email back, and then I have 48 hours to do a self-tape. So I did the self-tape. A few days later, shortlisted to speak with the director. And next thing I know, a week later, I'm on my way to Canada, to Vancouver, to actually have a meeting with the director, to also help secure my visa. So we do that, and then fast forward to October 28th. I'm flying to New York, to Manhattan, to start on The Greatest Showman. And my very first scene, December 2nd, 2016, my sister's birthday actually, is my very first scene with Hugh Jackman and of The Greatest Showman. I tried to be really, really sus and cool. It did not come off that way. I swear it just made me look so stupid. And so the director comes up to me, Michael Gracie, he's like, hey, Sam, have you met Hugh? I'm like, no. And I've already got a grin on my face because I'm like, no, I haven't. Of course I want to meet him. What are you talking about? So he's like, oh, okay, let me just go get him. I'll bring him over and you guys can have a talk. I'm like, okay. Just still kind of like, oh my gosh, I'm about to meet Hugh Jackman, face to face. I can touch him, shake his hand. Oh my goodness. He comes walking over. I'm like, oh my. And at this point, my mind's kind of a little bit blank because I'm like, this is not actually happening. He comes over. He's a really, really tall guy, really tall. And so he comes over. He's towering over me already. And he's like, hey Sam, how's it going? I'm like, hey Hugh, what's up? And then I'm like, that was not cool, was it? He's like, not really, but I get it. I'm like, okay. And then I'm just like, so, and then I guess we tried to make small talk. I can't quite remember. All I remember is me looking like a complete idiot the first time I met Hugh. Trying to be cool, but wasn't. But he's a good friend now, good friend. We were a family for this movie because the message was all about, inclusivity, diversity, equality. And so in having all of that, we became that tight-knit family where we all kind of stood up for each other and everything. Hugh was in playing P.T. Barnum, who's the founder of the entertainment industry, he was also the father of like our set. He kept us all together. Like he kept us like feeling happy and, you know, uplifted. And the moment when we're about to go into film now on, he says, because it all brought me back to you. And he's got tears in his eyes, his eyes are watering, and he says, because it all brought me back to you. And then he looks up at me, sitting on the thing, and I'm already like, oh, come on, dude. And then, like, every time I'm watching that scene, I just can't help but have a tear roll down my eye, because I'm just like, to say that and look up at me, I can't even. It just overwhelms me a little bit. Because he's my mentor, my friend who I looked up to forever. Like, I have moments when I'm watching the film where I'm like, oh, I remember when we were shooting that, or when I was watching that scene, the director said this, or like someone tripped on that, or they pulled the plug, and like there was a fight, or like it's just all those little things and the interactions that being behind the scenes that come to your head when watching the movie that the audience won't see. It's totally true that when the camera rolls, it's all, you know, like smile and everyone's happy, and then cut. It's like take a breather, let it all down, like be frustrated, take a breath, run to the bathroom, all of that stuff. It's a crazy dynamic from what you see like on the screen. Hollywood can be very, you know, picture perfect and makeup and glitz and glamour, and has that mirror that people only see what, you know, everyone wants them to see. So I try to keep it as real as possible. Anyone who feels downtrodden, feels like they have no way out, they feel like they're rock bottom, they feel like they don't have anywhere to go, that's what that is. Like, I'm trying to be that person. I was the underdog. I am the underdog. Like, I'm still, like, I've had amazing success in Greatest Showman, but I've had many challenges after that success. And it goes to, like, to say that one success doesn't guarantee success for the rest of your life. I had Greatest Showman, and then I underwent a lot of medical issues. Like, I have Crohn's disease. I underwent 3 surgeries in the space of 6 months in between 2018 and 2019. I had an ileostomy for 6 months, and then I got put back together on February 28th, 2019. But then I still had to undergo treatment for a very long time until all of that treatment, and I was fully back to myself in June 2019. I could have died. Like, it was so bad that I was on the verge of dying. And it goes back to saying, expressing that positivity and the gratitude. So I represent all of that. I'm trying to represent the gratitude that you can have when you undergo so many challenges, and that still don't let that, beat you to the ground, because it'll beat you to the ground. But I'm here to represent that. I almost died a year ago, and I'm still here, and I'm still fighting. And so I want to be that message, or be that representation, and that hope to anyone who feels like they can't go on. So positivity nowadays helps me to keep the negative mindset back. And I know that I'm in a very different place today from what I was when I was, a teenager and all that. All of that, the insecurities and all that still, unfortunately, follow me to adulthood. Like, that's not something that you easily overcome in, overnight or in 5 or 10 years. That's why positivity, love, and joy, and there's a lot of negativity in this world. So, and I think it takes a lot more energy to actually spread negativity than positivity. Like, you have to go out of your way to be mean to people, but you don't have to be out of your way. You don't have to go out of your way to be kind to people and show love. Like, it's as simple as saying, hey, you're doing a good job, or hey, that looks really nice, or you're doing amazing, keep it up. Like, it's as simple as that. A simple comment that I leave on Instagram to someone's fan art or song, they say has made their day, month, year, and it took me 2 seconds.